Okay. For the preliminary, we used a very basic camera. We used a Canon MD 205, and this was very simple to use, and but the quality wasn't as good as newer cameras, as this was very old. We used basic camera shots and editing techniques, so we used quite a few close-ups, low angles and mid shots, because obviously our knowledge of camera work and editing wasn't as varied as it is now. Um, Also, when I was editing the preliminary, there were different scenes involved, so there were different volumes on each scene, so it didn't really sound consistent or fluent. Um, Before the preliminary, I'd never filmed before, so this was like my first go. The only complex thing about it was maybe adding transitions into it during the editing, but apart from that, it just seemed very simplistic to use. Um, it was really easy to use, it wasn't difficult at all. If we compare this to my product, I can definitely say that my knowledge of camera work has improved, and yeah, it's improved and it's widened a lot because now I know that I can use different camera shots and it'll still look good. It'll still look continuous. So yeah, and my ability to innovate has vastly improved as well. I'm able to use a variety of camera shots and editing movements to create a smooth and flowing sequence, thus achieving a professional look for my product. For the preliminary, I used iMovie, and iMovie is very simple to navigate around. It's probably the program you'd use if you were a beginner, which I was when I was doing the preliminary. To edit my sequence to create the product, I did use iMovie to choose which shots and scenes I wanted, but then I moved on to something a bit more complex, which was Adobe Premiere Pro. Using this program, it had allowed me to enhance my sequence and make it look a lot more professional and realistic. So it allowed me to add extra titles. The titles could move in any way I wanted them to. I was also able to add music on top and use special effects like colour correction. And especially with the music, I was able to add a fade in. So if I added a fade in between two scenes, it would sound continuous rather than going from loud to quiet. For the equipment, we used a Canon EOS 600D, which is the latest edition. It was very complex to use, so we watched a few videos to familiarise ourselves with it. It was a lot more complex to use than the equipment we used for the preliminary, but I got used to it eventually after taking a few practice pictures and just doing some practice filming. We used extra equipment like heavier tripods. This allowed us to be more stable with our filming rather than having just a cheap, small, normal tripod, which we used for our preliminary. So yeah, my knowledge has therefore progressed greatly, allowing me to create the perfect product.